Hello and welcome to the first of hopefully many crocheting videos. I recently finished a crochet scarf that I made out of granny squares, and I thought I would show you the process of how I came about designing it, the materials I used, the granny square design, and I would say this is more a tutorial about how to design a granny square scarf. Hi! There's also going to be a lot of cats. As you can imagine, they love the yarn, and especially Domino always wants to be in on the action while I'm sitting on the couch crocheting. But this is Domino here, and that's T-Zone over there. I'm still working on my filming setup, so kind of crocheting tutorials are a little difficult for me. I definitely tried, but there are so many good tutorials out there for granny squares in particular. So I'll link a good one in the description box. And I'll kind of do a little voiceover action to show you how I designed the scarf and the decisions that I made. I really wanted to make a scarf that made a big statement, and that kind of goes with everything. And I also wanted it to have kind of an organic design, a design that didn't look like it was super designed. I used Paintbox Yarn's Simply Chunky. This is what it looks like. It's kind of like a squishy 100% acrylic. This is not one of the colors I used, but it's just one that I happen to have. And I used a 6mm crochet hook, which is what they recommend, a pair of scissors, obviously, and a tapestry needle, standard crocheting tools. And I chose 16 colors, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but the granny square design that I chose used 3 colors per granny square, so I really wanted to mix things up and make it look really varied and make a lot of different combinations with the colors. So I think that was a pretty good number. And then in addition to the 16 colors that I used one extra color to do the joining of the granny squares and the border on the scarf. So yeah, I think that's everything, and let's get into the video. So here are all the squares I made. They all just look like this, 3 colors, very classic granny square. You wanna smell it? Just realized that I wasn't wearing a microphone. So I think I need to make 4 more squares maybe, just so I'm satisfied with the number and colors. I made 32 squares to begin with, and that was kind of based on having 2 of each border color, or two of each color act as a border, like having 2 red borders, for example. And I feel like there are some colors that I like more than others that I think I want to add a few more of. So I'm gonna get to work on that. It's finally joining time. So this is the cream colored yarn in the same quality that I decided I wanted to do for the joining and for the border, just to give it a little bit of a fun contrast to all of the bright colors. So I basically just went about looking at the pile of granny squares I had and picking ones that kind of had like higher contrast to each other and maybe not too many repetitive colors, and just started joining them all together with slip stitches. I settled on a design that was 2 squares wide all the way down the scarf, and so I just joined each pair down the middle to the previous pair until all of the squares were joined together. I do prefer a flatter seam, so I wish in hindsight that I had done a blanket stitch or something like that, but I do think that the slip stitches made it very strong. Once all the pairs were joined, I pulled gently on each one to kind of flatten out that bump down the center of the scarf so there wasn't so much of a seam. And then it was time for the final joins. So this time around, I cut lengths of the joining yarn and tied them to the corners of the squares. And then I used a tapestry needle to do a blanket stitch to sew all of the squares together. This made a flatter seam, and it was also really easy. This is what that blanket stitch looks like up close. And now, finally getting into the home stretch, the border. So I chose to do a picot border, and that kind of makes this cute little scallop or almost like ball kind of border where it looks like a little bunch of little round circles all along the edge. And I just thought it was really cute and kind of made it look more almost like cottagecore in a way. I will link the video that I used as a reference to learn this picot stitch. It's super easy. It's really just making a bunch of chains and single crochets, so it looks really cute for so little work. This, honestly, I think the border was the fastest part of this entire project. And finally, just the little finishing touches. I used a tapestry needle to weave in the ends of all of the joining yarns, and then I trimmed off the excess.